Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to give you a big walkthrough of all the lures you're going to need in this upcoming flathead season. The weather's already starting to warm up. They're starting to wake up. I've had a lot of reports of guys catching fish down the river on the drop-offs, even on the flats. So you're going to come with me. Behind me we've got one of the biggest ranges, if not the biggest range, of flathead, brim, whiting, all your light tackle lures in WA, in store, across all three stores. So buckle up. We're going to go through a lot of lures today and give you the inside scoop on what you're going to need for this summer. Right, so the first category of lure, the one you need before you go anywhere for your flathead fishing in the river, is the Vexed Buckaboo jigs. You can get them in a single pack and a 5-pack. They come in a range of weights from 2.5, 3.5 grams all the way up to like 14, 15 grams, something like that. So really, really handy lures, super simple, super cheap, and the most effective lures in the world. We all love the fancy $30, $40, $50 lures to catch these fish, but honestly, for the sake of a couple of bucks on a feathers on a jig head, these things will catch you so many flathead. They're so effective, and it doesn't hurt so much when you lose them. Cast them out as far as you can, hop them back, wind them slowly across the bottom, crank them back. You know, Taylor will even eat these, and they last a really long time. It's your Vexed Buckaboo. The next sort of lure you have to have in your tackle box is some sort of blade or vibe, a sinking lure to get down to the bottom, especially when these fish are sitting deep. Like at the moment, they tend to be sitting a bit deeper, although with these hot days we're going to have coming up, they should be moving into the shallows. But there's a selection of blades here which I love using. This one here is your Pro Lure. This is your V42, 42mm blade, nice and heavy, casts a long way, runs 2 trebles on there. These are your Decoy YS25s, super sticky, super sharp, super strong. All you got to do with these, cast them out as far as you can, let them hit the bottom, hop it back. You'll feel the vibrations through the rod tip, just small hops, move it this far off the bottom, and eventually you'll just pull up and there'll be weight there and wind in your big flatty. So that's your Pro Lure. We've also got your Tackle Tactics Switch Prawn. This is probably the number 1 or number 2 behind the Buckaboo lure last year. This thing is really, really cost effective, and 2 super sticky sharp assist hooks on their owner hooks. These things work in the exact same way. The original and still probably the best and most popular, the ZX blade. These come in a 30, a 40, a 30, a 35, a 40 and a 43. So pick your size, pick your weight, depending on how far you're fishing, how deep you're fishing, how much wind there is, how much current you got, and that kind of thing. But a flatty will eat every single size. I caught my biggest flatty last year on one of these in the 30mm size. And then lastly, what I got here is a TN38. Again, caught plenty of great fish on these ones. This is a plastic bodied vibe. You can hear it's a very loud rattle. So on those days when it's really windy or there's a lot of surface commotion, a lot of boats going past, the loud rattle in these can really get the fish's attention and call them in and get you that bite. With those vibes and blades, all you got to do is fish them over the drop-offs, cast them out, hop them back. You can fish them across flats as well, although if there's rock and wheel on the flats, you're being brave and you're putting money in Luke's pocket because you're going to lose a few. There are so many colors in these lures as well. If you look on the wall here, you have so many to choose from. We get asked all the time what the favorite color is. Honestly, on their day, they all catch fish. Sure, there's a couple which work really well all the time, but that's just because people use them all the time. Pick whatever you're confident in, cast it out, use it, and you will catch fish. Now we're moving on to your hard bodies, jerk baits in particular. There are so many to choose from. I got stacks down here, and it was really, really hard to narrow it down to just 5. But when you come in the shop, there's so many more options, but these are the 5 that I ththought you should see in this video. Get ready for summer. We'll start here with a new one. This is your Duo Rosanti. This is a 77mm suspending jerk bait. Nice fat profile. This Wakasagi bait color is absolutely awesome. Suspending lure in that sort of brackish salt water, so you can rip it really hard and let it sit there and in the face of the flathead and just come up and absolutely crunch it. These things cast really, really well. Very, very good fat profiled, something the fish haven't seen a lot in the river here. Now, it wouldn't be flathead fishing in the summer if you didn't have a double clutch. You have to have a double clutch. It is the all-time jerk bait for a whole heap of species, but flathead in particular. This one here is a 75 shallow. Any of those really shallow flats and weedy edges and rocks, this is what you want to be throwing. This thing gets down to probably around 0.5 meter to 0.9 of a meter, depending on how you throw it. You can rip it. It has that sliding weight system inside there, so it's very erratic. Every time you twitch it, it will do something different. Really, really annoys those fish and gets the bite on that pause. Moving on from the shallow double clutch is the deeper suspending 75 SP. So that's the classic, that's the one that's been around for a long time. This particular color is the Garfish. So it's the 2024 color of the year. This is a strictly limited color. It is an absolutely epic finish. You can see all the individual scales on that chrome sort of finish there. It has the Garfish beak painted on the edge, so you've got that black beak going into that sort of red, exactly like a real life Garfish. That is going to be a cracking colour for all things in the river and Taylor in the ocean as well. That baitfish profile, it is absolutely spot on. This is just a slightly deeper version of that shallow one before, so those deeper flats, even those drop-offs, this will do the job. This one here is your Eco Gear MW62. Another cracking jerkbait. This one will float a little bit more. Shallow diver, again, shallow flats, cast it out. You can slow roll it or twitch it back. They come in a range of epic colours as well. A bit of an underlooked or underused and overlooked lure, but these things are absolute dynamite, especially on the brim. A lot of guys keep these to themselves, so definitely check these ones out as well. And then absolute classic, the Norrie's laydown minnow. So these originated as a trout lure, became very, very popular over here for brim, and you know what, they work just as well for flathead on the flats as well. These things are perfectly balanced to suspend with these hooks, twitch and pause. They work on the tiniest bit of movement. Being a trout lure for trout streams, you barely have to move them and they give a cracking action. This is the absolute gun colour, the one that's been sought after. We've just had a massive stock up on these, so definitely check these ones out as well. So as I was saying, there's so many hard bodies along this wall. We've got the Imakatsu range of lures, Rip Risers, Dunks, SX40s, Camsons, Riggies. I'm running out of, there's small double clutches, there's Kadachis, there's Jackal Lil Bills. There's so many lures along here. You really got to come in store and actually have a look for yourself. There's so many colours, so many types to choose from. We're more than happy to help you out and run you through them. But we still have more categories to go, so let's move on. So moving on to the ever humble soft plastic, there are so many iterations of these things. This one here is your 3-inch dial prawn. They come in a range of epic colours. This is the Yabby UV, underlooked in WA as a really great colour, especially when the water's got a bit of colour to it as well. That thing, you just throw it on a jig head, hop it off the bottom, and twitch it back, and they'll get absolutely crunched. They have that tail movement there and that leg action, so on the fall, those legs kick along, and as you flick it, the tail flicks along. You can slow roll it, hop it back. Any of those locations you use these blades and vibes, you can use this off plastic. Not so much on the flats, the blowfish can be an issue, but if you can get away from them, these are a really good option as well. We've also got the Rapala Crush City prawns. These things are epic as well. Look at all the legs on there. These things absolutely kick hard in the current, and they have that little paddle, I don't even know how to describe it, kind of like a paddle tail on the back there, and these things kick really well. I like them on a jig head, fish the exact same way. Right, a couple of camera issues, but we're back. Another prawn option, Pro Lure Clone Prawn. It's been very popular for the last couple of years. 62mm prawn, bit of a different material. These two that I just spoke about are like that stretchy material, really resistant to tears. This one is not the same, but it just offers a different feel in the water and a different sink rate, so it can be really, really useful and really good for those flatties as well, but keep them away from the blowfish. We'll move on to a couple of baitfish profiles that I really like. We've got the Slim Swim, 2.5 inch. This thing is an absolute classic. The amount of flathead I've caught on these as bycatch when fishing brim is ridiculous. They just seem to love them. Imitates those little baitfish on the bottom absolutely perfectly. I like them on a heavy jig head, 1/8, and just drag them across the sandy flats and deep drop-offs, and they just get absolutely crunched. Motor is a great colour, bloodworm, but pretty much all of them will work. And a bit of a newer one, it's the Sprat 75s. This is a fork-tailed minnow. It has that baitfish profile that you can see there. It's got that forked tail. So that really helps it to glide on that descent, helps it to come down nice and smoothly and look really, really good and enticing on the fall of the fish, which is really important for flatties. A lot of the time they'll eat it on the drop or as it's just settled on the bottom. These can be fished with a hidden weight. You can fish them with a heavy jig head, rip them really aggressively off the bottom, and they get absolutely clunked on that pause. So that's just a couple of soft plastics that we have here. Again, so many options. We've got a whole wall behind you there. Come in and have a look. There's a million options of plastics and colours, jig head combinations. They work in a great range of places, and they're really cost effective per bait. You're only looking at a couple of bucks when you put them with a pack of jig heads. So the final category that I want to show you is something a little bit out there and a little bit new, but it's throwing like little swim baits or glide baits, anything with a joint in the middle. It's a little bit more of a challenge. These ones here, this is a Jackal Spy Tail. It's a very slow sinking glide bait. You can get it moving side to side really nicely on the twitch, and you can even slow rine it and it will just swim along. This one here is your Gangcraft jointed claw. These things are epic. This is my favorite one. You can just slowly wind along and it will just move side to side like that, or you can twitch it and get it dancing side to side really nicely and then have a slow sink. Epic to use, epic fun on your spin gear, but also epic fun on your BFS, which is something that's really taking off now. You can throw these a long way, twitch them back across flats, even sink them down along drop-offs. Really effective. Flathead for sure, but honestly, brim, even giant herring, these things are dynamite. Just make sure you have a heavy leader because you don't want to be losing these ones, but really, really effective lures, swim baits. Professional. Very good lures for the flathead season and very fun and challenging. I haven't talked about top waters. You can absolutely get on top waters. Bit of a niche thing, bent minnows, slippery dogs, all that kind of thing. You'll definitely catch them, but yeah, these guys here. Anyway, so yeah, swim baits, definitely grab those. We'll give this a second for the gas to clear and I'll give you some tips on where to go and how to catch them. So how do you actually find the fish to use these lures? So there's a lot of factors you can take into account, but you can also get into the weeds. So there's a few main ones really like to look at. The biggest one is tide. So a lot of people think you've got to be at sunrise, sunset, and that works for some species, but for flathead, you don't have to get out of bed early. Tide is really the most important factor. Which way is it going? When's it high? When's it low? So typically a high tide, you're going to want to be fishing in areas where the bait are getting pushed to. So the high tide fills the flats with water where there was no water or very little water before. The bait can get up there, the fish can get up there, they can feed on shell and prawn and obviously the bait fish. So that's probably where the fish are going to be. Especially once you have a hot day and there's a lot of heat in that high tide and that shallow water, the flathead will tend to lie around there and just wait for bait to come past. As that tide starts to recede and there's not enough water up there, the flathead are going to retreat. They're going to go sit on the drop-offs and the edges, waiting for that bait to get to the end of the tide where that water can't sustain them anymore. The bait have to come off, the prawns have to come off, and they'll eat them again as they're coming off. So high tide, I tend to favour the flats, areas with a lot of water on the edges and a bit of warmth. Low tide, I go looking on the drop-offs. Now, you can get them on both at any time. There's no exact rule, but I find that to be a pretty good general guideline. And you can use these lures according to that. So your blades, your soft plastics, that kind of thing on the drop-offs. Then you can use your jerk baits, your shallow jerk baits on those flats and really target those fish effectively. Hot days can go really well. Once this weather starts to heat up, it really gets the fish active and you tend to catch a lot of numbers of fish, especially smaller fish. But if you keep weeding through them, eventually you can get a good one. I tend to like to be land-based, grab a backpack and you start walking a long way and just put casts where you think they're going to be in little sand patches next to rocks, drop-offs, and eventually you tend to find a bigger one and go through a lot of numbers while you're at it. You'll catch these fish from right at the mouth all the way up past places like Ascot and Maylands. I caught a flathead up there a couple of weeks ago. This time last year, I got a couple of high 50s fishing around that Maylands, Belmont area. So you kind of catch them all through the river, but I think that lower stretch between Fremantle and the Narrows and Canning Bridge in that Melville water zone is a really, really good place to start looking. Jump on Google Maps, look down. We'll put a couple of overlays here. You can try places like Point Walter. You have the sandbar and you have the jetty around and the rocks the other side at Blackwell Reach. You've got the flats on the sandbar, and then as you go around, you've got drop-offs which you can fish, so you can target two different areas quite close together. On the other side of the river, you've got places like Claremont. That's a great bay with shallow, weedy flats, rock and drop-offs. As you move up through to Canning Bridge, you can get some really nice areas around the point, around Ardros. So many spots. If you jump on Google Maps, you'll be able to see so many great little drop-offs and holes, and that's how I like to find my spots. You just got to get on there, have a bit of a pick around, and you'll be able to see, right, this spot's got a shallow flat. What's the tide doing? I've got a high tide. Great. Tide's not high. Look nearby because the fish won't move far. They'll move to the nearest drop-off, and you'll be able to find them there. I think that covers most of what we want to get through today, but if you need any more information, that was a bit, but there's so much more to learn. Come and see us in store, Myrie, Osborne Park, Beckenham. If you can't get in to see us, you can give us a call, send us an email, or jump online at TackleWest.com.au to grab any of the gear you need that you've seen today or anything else at all. Thank you very much for watching another video, and we'll see you again in the next one.